The fight for equality is never a straight line. What makes the struggle harder is groups of people actively working against it. So you can understand why it might be considered poetic justice when a court slams these groups to the curb. These are the events that, when equality strikes, was made to showcase. So I would like to present to you a gem that revisits one of my earlier video entries at the same time. State pension age increase. Back to 60 campaigners lose landmark judicial review at High Court. The High Court judges said that the state pension age changes equalised a historic asymmetry between men and women. I think those who have watched my previous video, Women Face Equality and then Protest Against It, will have an idea what this video is about. So let's continue. Women affected by the state pension age increases have vowed to continue fighting and pressuring Parliament to intervene after they lost their landmark High Court battle. Julie Deld, 61, and Karen Glynn, 63, took the Department for Works and Pensions, DWP, to court over the changes, which have moved women's retirement age from 60 to 65. To recap this situation, a decision was made by the UK government years ago to shift the age of retirement for women in the UK from 60 to 65 to align with the age of retirement for all those males. I know this story came out at the start of the month, but I could not report on it sooner, as it took me ages to stop laughing. The women supported by campaign group Back to 60 claimed the increases discriminated against them based on grounds of sex, age, and both sex and age combined, so that they were not given adequate notice of the changes to prepare for years without their pension. I just had to go back and research this, and these campaigners are right. The Government Pensions Act under which these changes were made was only put on the books in 1995. Still, interesting argument. They are basically saying the status quo was discriminatory against males based on sex and age combined. But they do not care about that, do they? But on Thursday, judges found in favour of the government and dismissed their claims on all grounds, leading to gasps inside the Royal Courts of Justice in London. There was no direct discrimination based on grounds of sex, because this legislation does not treat women less favourably than men in law, Lord Justice Irwin and Ms. Justice Whipple said in a statement. Rather, it equalises a historic asymmetry between men and women, and thereby corrects historic direct discrimination against men. The judges also rejected Ms. Delve and Ms. Glynn's claims. Ms. They didn't get married then. Claims that the policy was discriminatory based on age and that they were not given enough notice of the changes. Since 2010, successive governments have increased the retirement age for women to 65, equalising it with that of men's. The state pension age will move to 66 for both sexes by 2020. For clarification purposes, the law was originally put on the books in 1995 for completion by 2020. In 2010, the government announced the start of the timetable for this change. Around 3.8 million women born in the 1950s could lose out on tens of thousands of pounds in state pension payments as a result of the increases. How can you lose out on something you're not entitled to? I would say these women should blame their parents for not having them sooner. The High Court judges said, while they were saddened by the claimant's stories, their role in the case was limited. The high courts are playing the world's smallest violin right now. Speaking outside the court after the ruling, Joanne Welch from the Back to 60 campaign maintained that 1950s women had faced discrimination, adding that she was puzzled by the judgment. Hang on, what do 1950s women and the supposed discrimination they faced over 60 years ago have to do with women in 2019? She indicated the group would continue pressing the issue with the government. Where do we go from here? Well, where will the government go from here is the better question. Referring to Boris Johnson's pledge during the Tory leadership campaign to look at the state pension age issue. She said, "We will be holding you to that undertaking. MPs and Parliament have allowed this issue to languish for so many years with false promises about what they were going to do. We are hoping now that given the judiciary have said that Parliament must look at this, that they will do that because women are suffering." But no, sorry. You are not watching the political scene in the UK over the past month. It was clearly established that the judges are the highest authority in the UK, since they interfered with the government and political decisions. If they can't help you, no one can. As sympathetic as one can be to this claim of women's suffering, the only people to blame in the situation are the individual women who did not bother to find out about these clearly stated changes. It was all over the BBC in 2010. "The fight goes on," she added. Barrister Michael Mansfield, QC, who represented the claimants, expressed his disappointment over the ruling. He said, "The government had pushed women, who are already disadvantaged, into the lowest class you can imagine. They are on the brink of survival, and I'm not overstating that." You heard it here. Women are the lowest rank of second-class citizens in the whole UK. This barrister is practically calling femininity a disability. He is basically making the case that fish do need bicycles after all. Who would have thought it? This same generation who in the 60s championed female independence now seem to be in a position where they are destitute and begging for help from the other half that they shunned. But the DWP said it welcomed the High Court judgment, as do I. It has always been our view that the changes we made to women's state pension age were entirely lawful and did not discriminate on any grounds. The court decided that arguments that claimants were not given adequate notice of changes to the state pension age could not be upheld. This follows the extensive communication that DWP made to publicise these changes over many years, said the DWP. It added, "Raising state pension age in line with life expectancy changes has been the policy of successive administrations over many years." Oh yeah, I forgot to highlight the fact that women live longer than men on average. Maybe it would be more fair to ask them to work a year or two longer than males to cover that. I'm willing to put that out there as a hypothetical, but personally I would be content with parity. Supporters of Back to 60 said the ruling was a devastating blow to millions of women, while MPs pledged to continue backing their fight. Shadow Pensions Minister Jack Dromey said a Labour government would consult with 1950s women over the support it could offer them. They're getting their time machines ready. Green Party MP Caroline Lucas said the gross pensions injustice remains. I will continue to support their fight. The less said about the Green Party and Labour fantasies, the better. Nick Onslow, a chartered financial planner at financial services firm Russell Elliott, told I, Providing for retirement is a very complex part of financial planning. It often takes a lifetime to plan for, and this means that any late changes can be extremely problematic and cause untold emotional distress. Yeah, if only someone had notified them 20 years ago or so, maybe they could have planned for this. Oh, wait. Many of these women will be looking after elderly relatives, or maybe ill or disabled themselves. Finding employment in their 60s could prove to be difficult, he added. How many males are looking after elderly relatives and or are disabled, and yet they have to wait until they are the correct age before they get any state pension benefits? Plus, those who are looking after relatives and those who do have a recognized disability are already eligible for social support payments. Women affected by state pension age changes are often referred to as WASPy women. However, the Women Against State Pension Inequality (WASPy) campaign has different goals to back to 60, so it was not involved in the High Court case. WASPy has been campaigning for fair transitional arrangements for 1950s born women. Back to 60 is seeking repayments from the DWP for the years of state pension they have missed out on. The WASPy campaign said its complaints of maladministration process had been on hold during the judicial review procedure, but that it would take legal advice on how to proceed after the ruling. I'm pretty sure that WASPy membership and this Back to 60 group, although being two apparently separate entities, have sizable overlap in their membership. This seems to be a case of gives me money now. Let us also not lose sight that when the pension was originally brought in, most people did not reach the age of 60, let alone live to enjoy the benefits of retirement. Now that this has changed, the government has to take this into account so that they can cover the bills for retirees now and in the future. Yes, there was going to be some disruption due to pension age increases, but the way to plan for that is not to bury your head in the sand for years and expect someone else to solve your problems for you. Life is not fair, and that is something you have to deal with. Another way of saying this is, just remember, your sole purpose in life is to serve as a warning to others.